Hey everyone, welcome back to your week ahead astrology breakdown with me, Matthew from Stillwater Alchemy. How are we all feeling as the week begins? I had posted on social media that for those of us with prominent fixed sign placements, Scorpio, Taurus, Aquarius, and Leo, that you might just be feeling maybe overwhelmed, exhausted, like you have a lot going on. That's because we have a lot of those activations. We have both Saturn and Mars in late degrees of Aquarius. We have the South Node in Scorpio, the North Node in Taurus, and the moon starts off this week in Leo. So there's just a lot going on for those that are getting activated in that way. So if you need, be sure to give yourself the rest, the nourishment, the proper nutrition, the resources, whatever you need to be successful this week, because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of planetary ingresses happening. There are energies being activated with regards to Jupiter-Neptune being conjunct in Pisces, which is very exciting. And we have that full moon in Libra happening on Saturday. So just set yourself up for success and don't burn the candle on both ends or trying to appease everyone or trying to achieve success, but destroying your body in the process. Okay. Beautiful. Also, I have released the ebook that I was referencing last week. It's called Spirit in the Stars. It goes over 20 frequently asked questions that I get regarding spirituality, astrology, tarot, and with regards to the astrology, things like what all 12 houses mean, the difference between sun, rising, and moon. Also, I look at Placidus versus whole sign in terms of how you can break down a chart. I use David Bowie's chart as an example. I go over the angles. And so it's just a little snapshot to get our beaks wet. It's priced at $9.99 Canadian, so it's accessible to everyone. And be sure to check that out on our website. I'll put the link in the description, the bio, so you can find it there. Any questions, feel free to leave them on this video. And at the end of this video, I'll also be going over a question that we got from last week in terms of different astrological themes or knowledge that you're curious about. So again, if you have any questions about astrology, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll get back to them in some way, shape, or form moving forward. So let's hop in to this week because there's a lot to be excited about moving forward. So like we said, we're starting on Monday, April 11th at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So the moon starting off in Leo. This is what I was talking about with our prominent fixed sign angels, because we have Saturn, Mars in Aquarius. That's South Node in Scorpio. And now the moon in Leo. So the moon is making that applied opposition to Saturn. We'll start off with the quote unquote bad news first, and then we'll move on to the good news. So on Monday, please don't be hard on yourself. Don't feel like you have to prove something to everyone or feel like you're in competition with social media or with that one person that you can't seem to outdo or outperform. Remember, Leo has that spotlight energy and Aquarius represents a collective. And with Aquarius too, it can be overwhelmed from large groups or a certain type of environment, or even just stress on our nervous system. And we've talked before in these videos that when the moon is especially making squares or oppositions to Mars, which she is making that applied opposition to Mars here, which is then also going to be moving on into Tuesday as well. So this is a note for both Monday and Tuesday, but just not to overexert yourself, which we mentioned before. The one way how I would like us to use this to our benefit is how the moon is making that applied trine to the sun in Aries. And so the sun being exalted in Aries, the sun having its home sign in Leo, it's getting some nice kind of mutual reception here a little bit, in my opinion. So have fun today. Please do something that just brings you joy, whether it's watching your favorite TV or movie, favorite TV show or movie, or moving your body. I think sometimes when we have prominent air energy in the cosmos, it can cause us to be in our head and to be thinking and going over every single type of scenario that could or could not happen. Let's bring it back into the body, maybe even just being out in the sun, doing something with people that you love. Let's try and offset this so that we're not being hard on ourselves and our status or our career, and that we're just bringing into more joy and happiness. Even if it's like watching TikTok for a bit or like a viral video or your favorite comedian, just do something that uplifts your spirit so we can be in that positive state of flow, okay? Other things to note, Mercury has now ingressed into Taurus, where it will be here until April 29th. This is interesting because as the month moves along, Mercury is going to be slowing down bit by bit because it will station retrograde on May 10th in the sign of Gemini. So this is something to note because I believe then Mercury at the end of its retrograde will retrograde back into Taurus. That's a theme for all Mercury retrogrades this year, where it starts off in an air sign and then moves into an earth sign, except for the very last Mercury retrograde in Capricorn, but that's not until December, so we won't have to worry about it. So needless to say that you may feel a shift in how you think or how you communicate or what things you want to focus on, right? These mercurial themes. This is really important too, because we have the North Node and Uranus in Taurus. So be sure to look at the house that Taurus rules. And maybe if it feels good for you, and this has come up a lot in consults and with my clients over the past week, especially, is to get back into journaling. And it can just be, what is your intention for the day, or writing out affirmations over and over again, but doing something there. It can even be something cute, like writing an intentional word for the day on a sticky note and just placing on your mirror in the bathroom, whatever that is for you. Because with Mercury getting closer to Uranus, there may be a shift in how you're thinking. There may be a shift in what you want to focus on moving forward. And given that we're going to have that first eclipse in Taurus on April 30th, part of me just thinks that what's going to be coming through over the next 3 weeks or so is going to be that much more pronounced during this eclipse season and during the eclipse cycles that we're going to be having over Scorpio and Taurus. So again, with Taurus, safety, security, comfort, wealth, work ethic, these are all things I want us to focus on. Also, I just feel like a good kind of energy around prosperity and abundance in whatever form that means for you, whether it's love, money, health, or all of the above, because now Jupiter and Neptune are at that 23-degree conjunction. It'll be exact tomorrow on the 12th. But so what I want to say here is, even though there are some frictional aspects going on for fixed signs, there's still some other really good energy to note off the top. And with so much happening, it can seem overwhelming, or it can seem like that contraction before the expansion on what's about to take place. So just be mindful. And I think practicing mindfulness, staying in the current moment, will help us to receive all of these blessings that much easier. Okay. Good. We talked about how on Tuesday, we're still working with the moon here, especially depending on your time zone, dealing with that opposition to Mars. So careful of burnout, overexerting yourself. These are all still valid precautions to take place on Tuesday. But then the moon will be moving into Virgo shortly after. So that more grounded or pragmatic approach should be really good. And the one thing I want us to remember here is this is the exact conjunction between Jupiter and Neptune at 23 degrees. So for me, this is a beautiful manifestation portal. I always kind of giggle sometimes when people are like 1111 or 222. It's like, yes, repeating angel numbers are beautiful. If it resonates to do manifestation rituals on those days, sure. But this Jupiter Neptune, given that Jupiter is in its domicile Mercury, Venus is exalted in Pisces, the sun is exalted in Aries, it's just a lot of good energy to manifest under. Or quite simply, what intuitive downloads are coming in, or new dreams or new visions, or just heightened intuition, the dream realm, premonitions, all these kind of Piscean energies, very, very strong. And I think what I spoke on about Monday, being in that state of levity, of fun, enjoying yourself, will help those downloads, those manifestations to flow to you easily. And I know that people have a lot going on. It's Aries season, the beginning of this energetic year. I understand all that. But if we can carve out these pockets of joy throughout each day, but especially on Monday, so that when we move into Tuesday, we have this beautiful Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, this would be wise. So again, look at the house in your own natal chart that's ruled by Pisces. If you have any late mutable placements, so Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, or Sagittarius, this will be very strong. And lastly, if you have prominent water sign energy in your chart, so Pisces, Cancer, or Scorpio, this is really nice, especially if you have Scorpio placements, given that they're a fixed sign and they're getting hit with that south node. This might just be a moment where you get to really bask in accomplishment or success or just happiness with this conjunction. And the one thing I will say is that Jupiter will be within 3 degrees of Neptune for the rest of the month. And Venus will be co-present until April 30th. So again, the end of the month. So don't freak out if you're exhausted on Tuesday, or if you don't get to certain things around manifestation or intentions or journaling. It's okay. Again, a lot of these things get hyped up for clickbait. It's like, if you miss this one day, it's over. It's not over. It's just this activation, this exact conjunction happens on Tuesday. So I just want everyone to be aware of what's coming to the surface so that they don't just brush it aside, being like, oh, this is a random thought, it means nothing. No, really pay attention to all the signs and synchronicities that are happening throughout this week, but especially on Tuesday, okay? Beautiful. So Tuesday, now we're moving on to Wednesday, April 13th. So that moon opposition to Venus, having the two feminine planets kind of at oppositions with one another. And if we're looking at the signs of Pisces and Virgo, for me, this is don't lose the dream and don't lose the boundaries. Like, you can have both, or maybe we need to reevaluate something in our life, or maybe we need to rethink something to make it easier. Because I always think of Virgo, right? Those systems, rules, procedures, how we can make things run smoother. But then Pisces is about, how do I feel? How do I want this all to flow? And sometimes we feel like we have to compromise around being pragmatic or going after what we want. We've spoken about this, given that we have all this dominant Pisces energy in the cosmos this year, right? And so I would just want you to realize too, let's say a huge activation comes through on Tuesday, but then Wednesday, that critical mind or that thinking mind tries to take over. I just want you to practice that discernment of, I can have it all. This gets to be easy. I can do whatever I want and still be happy. My happiness is my main priority. And then, given that I think Pisces kind of wins in this opposition, I just don't want us to move into fantasy where it's like, I can have anything I want, but then forget about the Virgo pragmatic approach of like, okay, well, we need to have some discipline. We need to carve out time to accomplish these goals. We can't just be in that Piscean dream state without having the grounded tools that Virgo can bring us. So it's just reevaluating. And that can also be what you think about as we start up the week. And especially on Wednesday is, are my dreams not strong enough, or are my boundaries not strong enough to support one another? Right. And I think that that is a very valid lesson for all of us in terms of wanting to reach certain goals, but then the work isn't there, but the work is there. But then sometimes the dreams need to be bigger to expand what we know to be possible in that moment. So just playing with that so that we don't lose sight of either or. Okay. Yes, very good. Thursday. This is nice too. The moon opposing Jupiter and Neptune. This sometimes for me, I find with individuals that have prominent Pisces or Virgo energy, that there can sometimes be this martyr complex, or that they're trying to help and save everyone. They want to save the world. They want to do all this good, which is beautiful and noble, but it shouldn't be at the expense of your own energy reserves or your own personal development. I kind of give this as a little bit of a joke, but I'm still half serious. If you want to save the world, start by saving yourself first, making sure that you're the best possible version. And by proxy, that's just going to extend to everyone else. And that's for me is with this moon opposing Jupiter and Neptune, is that you feel like you have to do so much, or that you have to be there for everyone else, sometimes at the detriment of your own being. And that's just kind of one way I'm looking at this. Of course, there can be this overly generous energy with Jupiter and Pisces. And so if you have the capacity to help and be of service, by all means do so. But just kind of seeing how you feel, or now that these new dreams have been accomplished, or things are going on, or even in the best possible manifestation, that everything you've ever wanted has now come through, and there might just be a touch of overwhelm, or when it rains, it pours. So now you got the career, you got the new lease, you got the partner, and now there's just an abundance, a cornucopia, we could say, of blessings to enjoy. And you just have to systematically make sure that you get to enjoy them all to your fullest potential. So getting that all in order, because we're moving up to that full moon experience that's going to be taking place on Friday. The last thing to note here on Thursday is that Mars is in that critical degree, its last degree of Aquarius. So Mars has been in Aquarius, I believe, since March 9th. So just being aware of what this has taught you, especially given its interaction with Saturn, looking at the house in your chart that's ruled by Aquarius and seeing where all that hard work or diligence is supporting long-term structures, and maybe even taking a moment to journal and looking back over the past 6 weeks, 5 weeks or so, just to see what have you learned? Has your energy been conducive to your goals? Has the actions that you put forth in that area of your life actually supported you? Or do you feel like you've just been overwhelmed and burned out? This is just something I want us to evaluate, because now moving on to Friday, April 15th, Mars is now in Pisces. So really that Pisces part of your chart is popping off. 4 planets there. It's a lot. So this is also something to know as well. We want to take advantage of this Aries energy, because once the sun moves into Taurus, it's going to be a lot of water and earth and not as much fire and air. So just noting that, so that we don't just become a puddle, or that we don't just get stuck in the mud. That can happen with a lot of water and earth, that we still have systems in place to activate that fire energy within us. And we still have beautiful energy here with Aries season. So let's take advantage. Okay. Friday, with the moon now in Libra opposing Chiron in Aries, for me, it's just making sure that our boundaries are crystal clear in the relationships, knowing what we want, so that we don't keep attracting the same type of collaborations or relationships or people at work, right? If we think that we can just leave this relationship because we're not getting what we want and we haven't fixed the core wound, Chiron, it'll just manifest in a different way. Or it's again, like those if thens or when then. It's like, when I accomplish this, then I'll do that. It's like, no, we have to make sure that we can fix it first, so our external reality reflects that. So this is probably something that will become more clear with the full moon for everyone in terms of relationships and boundaries and what we need to feel safe, and especially your own autonomy. And this has kind of been a theme throughout this entire week of what do you want, not what you think other people expect from you, or being in competition with the entire world, especially with social media always dinging us and trying to get our attention. What is it that you need to feel safe? What is it that you need to feel supported? And what is it that you need in relationships? I think that's going to be a prominent field to examine, so that you get the most of this full moon. And I also find it curious as well that Mercury is getting closer and closer, that conjunction with Uranus. And we think of Taurus as being very steady, loyal, reliable. But I feel that with now Mercury within that 5-degree orb of Uranus, that there may just be a new shift that takes place, or a new paradigm, or something that you want to address. Given that both Libra and Taurus are ruled by Venus, Venus is now exalted in Pisces, being surrounded by all of this energy. It's just like, if this doesn't feel good anymore, I don't want to be a part of it, whether it's in a family dynamic, a relationship, whatever that is. So I think that this Aries energy can help prompt you or motivate you to leave a situation that doesn't feel good. And I know that it'll manifest differently for everyone, but I just want you to see and to feel what comes up for you Friday, Saturday around relationships, around being equal, around being seen and heard and valued, and most importantly, your own autonomy in this realm, so that when we reach that full moon on Saturday, April 16th, the clarity, the illumination is just that much more pronounced. I will say, for those of you that have prominent cardinal energy, so Libra, Capricorn, Aries, and Cancer, you'll naturally feel this, a full moon in late degrees of Libra. And then we also have Pluto at 28 degrees Capricorn. So just knowing that, to give yourself a little bit of leeway, a little bit of rest. I do think that this full moon will be very illuminating, and to give yourself a buffer of either not having so much on your plate Saturday, or maybe not having so much on your plate on Sunday, will really help. This full moon will take place at around 2:54 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So of course, depending on your time zone, you can prepare accordingly. We can also see here right now, the Mercury is closing in on Uranus. So I just think new ideas, new beliefs, new ways of communicating are all very pronounced this weekend and with this full moon activation. And remember, the next full moon that we have after this is an eclipse. So please take this seriously in terms of the relationships that you're in and knowing if they're serving you or not. And of course, that means a relationship for ourselves as well. And even going back to the beginning of this video, of nurturing ourselves, of giving us the proper rest, of having fun. I truly believe that we can have heaven on earth at any given time. And if we're not enjoying this, we're playing the game wrong. So don't forget about that most important relationship as well. Yes. And then Sunday, moon in Scorpio. So there's a lot going on here. I would recommend taking it easy on Sunday to feel what's coming through. The moon is in her fall in Scorpio, so it can be very emotionally intense. And the moon is making that opposition to both Mercury and Uranus. So don't ruminate on things or don't think of scenarios in your head, especially if that full moon, let's say, prompted you to want to have a conversation with someone. Don't sit on it necessarily. Maybe take time to compose yourself, but eventually you're going to want to have that conversation. I think also too, with the moon opposing Uranus, Mercury conjunct Uranus, there may just be an impromptu conversation. You're not going to be able to contain yourself. Like, I need to call this person. It doesn't necessarily need to be bad. Maybe you want to profess your love for someone, or you really know it's like, I need to resign from my job. This is something that I want to do. I'm going to write the letter today. Maybe not send it, but I'm going to write it today. So again, leaning on journaling, if it's going to help you, being able to have that support and that love, let's say from a partner, your best friend, your pet. This is kind of an energy where I want you to be able to enjoy quality time with someone that you love the most. So if you can plan kind of like a date or an excursion with someone on Sunday, or just completely be chill, there's going to be a lot coming to the surface. I will say, on an also fun note, with the moon making trines to Mars and Venus, and Mars being its home sign of Scorpio. So I feel like that Mars in Pisces can kind of help the moon in Scorpio a little bit here of sexy time, intimate time, passion. So we also want to be able to enjoy that creativity, that passion, that intimacy by not being in our head. So like I said, don't come up with all these realities that may or may not be real, or getting in your head about this person might say this, or how is this person going to react when I tell them that. Be in the moment. Setting yourself up for success at the start of the week will definitely benefit you as we reach the end, okay? And given this plethora of water energy, 5 planets, dreams, imagination, creativity, perhaps that Jupiter-Neptune conjunction will manifest, or certain ideas are going to flow in. So just being in that benevolent state, this state of flow, this state of receptivity, seeing what's coming through on Sunday, as it can be a lot of great blessings. Even though we have this opposition, it's just allowing us to feel our way into things and not having to think our way around them or into them or out of them. Feel. Okay. Fabulous. So that is a weekly breakdown for this week. And now for the question that I want to address. One of the things that I get a lot in terms of aspects, and this was brought up in the video last week, in that should we look at the transit planets in a chart, or should we look at our own natal planets when addressing a transit? So this was in relation to the Mars-Saturn conjunction that we had last week. But if we look at the screen for this week, so let's say we want to look at the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. So you would look at this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in your house that is ruled by Pisces. But let's say your natal Jupiter is in Virgo and your natal Neptune is in Sagittarius. Well, then, of course, this would be applicable because Sagittarius is also a fellow mutable sign. So we would see that both Jupiter and Neptune would have an effect on your natal Neptune, and Jupiter would be opposing Virgo as well as Neptune, given that Virgo is also a mutable sign. So you want to look at both. You look at where the planets are in your chart and seeing if they make aspects to your natal planets as well. But let's say in this example, so let's see if we can give me one moment. I'm just going to open up a random chart here. So let's use Coco Chanel's as an example here. Perfect. So if we pull this up, please give me a moment. Beautiful. So we have Coco Chanel's chart in this inner ring. And now we have the transits from Wednesday on the outer ring. So if we look at that Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, this would be in Coco Chanel's fourth whole sign house. She has her natal moon in Pisces, her ascendant in Sagittarius. So we would look at this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction and say, okay, that's making an applied square to her ascendant. This is great. There's probably going to be home matters or family matters that she needs to address. It might be something that she needs to take into consideration in terms of her overall persona, or that there might be a move taking place, or that her family is expanding, which are both great things. But in terms of maybe her career is taking off, or she has to be addressing other things, it's just being able to handle both at the same time. And her Neptune, for example, is in Taurus, so it makes a nice sextile there. So we would also say that in accordance to positive things going on in her home and family life, that work may also benefit this from well. So when looking at aspects, you want to look at both in terms of where the planets are in the sky at that given time, and seeing if those planets make aspects to your own natal chart. But let's say you had Jupiter in Leo and you have Neptune in Scorpio, then it would affect Neptune in Scorpio because it's a fellow water sign. But since Leo is fixed water and Pisces is mutable water, fixed fire for Leo, then they're not going to make that aspect to one another. So let me know if that resonates in terms of how you can interpret aspects given where they are in transit to where they are in your natal chart. I eventually will, of course, create something that looks at aspects in general, because I know sometimes it literally is like a second language to interpret what all the aspects are, how they can affect us, and we'll go from there. So as always, let me know if there's any questions at all from this video in the comments section. Any questions that you're curious about, let me know. And enjoy this week. We'll have our full moon workshop available later on in the week if you want to use that as an additional resource. And take it easy this week. Have some fun, let everything flow, and we'll be good to go. Have a beautiful week, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.